Welcome to Exposing the Hidden Reality. I'm Annette, career reinvention coach and caffeine-powered human.
And I'm Sandra, women's life and leadership coach. I bring the woo to our conversations.
And this is the podcast where we call out all the unspoken stuff, biases, outdated expectations, and all the things women navigate in work and in life.
Yes. We bring to light what we see happening. Smart, capable women stuck in the same patterns because no one really talks about what's going on.
We'll bring some difficult truths.
Welcome, insightful experts.
And sprinkle in a little chaos and fun.
It wouldn't be us if we didn't, right?
It's true.
So whether you're walking the dog or tuning in during your commute, we're glad you're here. Let's do this.
Let's do this. You want to do the let's do this together? Like 3, 2, 1, let's do this. All right, 3, 2, 1. Let's do this. Rachel, we are so excited to have you today. You think we're funny? Thank you. Hopefully you think we're funny throughout the rest of this conversation.
If you're anything like your intro, you don't have to worry at all. I loved every bit of it.
Well, great. We're so excited to have you because what you do is something that I know female entrepreneurs, female employees, and in general, I think women struggle with, and that is asking for help, getting help, deciding what kind of help is even needed. And so we feel so fortunate to have you today. Rachel, will you tell us a little bit more about you and your business?
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Rachael Davila. My business is Extra Hands Virtual Assistants. 20 years ago, I became a virtual assistant, though I'd been doing that work long before that. I just didn't know it had a title. And when I found that out, I was like, yes, this is what I want to be when I grow up. And a couple of years ago, I hired my own VA and learned how scary it was from the other side of the VA client relationship. And it really started me on this whole journey. I call it my healing journey. Others, maybe it's the perimenopause, maybe it's just empty nest syndrome. I don't know what everyone else's journey is called. Mine was a healing journey because it coincided with my business shifting, my kids growing up and not needing me, all kinds of, I was like, am I alone in this? No, I'm not alone in this. I've learned since then that everyone kind of goes through this kind of shift, but I started shifting away from being a VA who solely does VA work to helping business owners figure out what they're looking for when they're looking to bring on virtual support primarily, but really any support. That could be a personal assistant, a nanny, a housekeeper, any of those things that, as you guys were saying, like we as women, we hold things so tightly, like we have to be in control of everything. And no, we have to, right? To really like thrive, we have to really evaluate what's ours to control and what's not. And that was a huge mindset shift.
Yeah.
You were talking about like the actual tasks and doing things, but I found it was the mindset shift that was the hardest to do. Was, is this mind a control? And if not, whose is it? Is it even a thing that I have to hold on to or expect? And if I'm delegating it, what does that look like? And can I receive the help? Because that was harder than figuring out what to let go of, was accepting it and receiving it and being like, okay, perfectionism, step aside because someone else is doing it. You don't have to.
I love that.
That is such a big thing for me personally is I I often struggle with how to communicate the standards involved in delegating the work as opposed to necessarily delegating the work. So, I might delegate the work and it gets delivered, but it doesn't get delivered in the way that I thought it was. And I realize that maybe I didn't communicate what I was really expecting because I've done it so often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets hard because we have our vision, and if we can't clearly communicate it, VAs aren't mind readers. Even those of us who've been in business a long time, we can do a lot of things that maybe a newbie can't. But even in the first, I say give it 3 months, because that's when we're learning your voice. That's when we're learning what you want and how it looks and how it shows up. Because like, I had that same thing. I mean, and I would go in behind my VA and tweak things because I could do it, right? I could go into Canva and do the things. But what I realized was if I did do that and I didn't take the time, and it took longer for me to explain what I was looking for than to actually do it.
Yes.
But I realized if I didn't communicate it, if I didn't point it out, then it would always be there. It would always be me going back in and tweaking. And so I did have to put aside that, right? I had to put that control aside and let my VA do the things, and then go in and say, okay, here I need these changes. And really, I had to figure it out too. How do I communicate this and spell it out? And after a while, I didn't have to do that anymore. It made it easier. And I mean, there were other things, but it was that growth for both of us. And in the beginning, I was the bottleneck because I was doing all the things. And then when I hired, so my original VA moved on to be our podcast manager and didn't do my graphics. So I had to bring in another team member to do that. But we had this plethora of examples. And because I had already practiced delegating, I practiced letting go of perfectionism and control and all that, I was able to say, here's what I have. If you can make it better, please do so. Because I was able then, it became that I don't have to think about it anymore. I can just let it go. If it's perfect, if it's not perfect, it doesn't matter. I'm having something else and I don't have to do it.
I think this is more like a life lesson. I don't even feel like we're talking about virtual assisting work at this point. I feel like we're talking about life, because when we have that shift and we start thinking about how can I teach someone else to do it for me? How can I coach and train someone to be a better version of the version that I am right now? That sounds so empowering instead of controlling.
Yeah. And it showed up in my personal life too, like completely outside of work, because I mean, we've all heard the example, right? You can load a dishwasher any number of different ways. It doesn't have to be your way.
Not according to my husband.
I mean, we all have our control issues, right? I mean, my husband has some too. But when I was writing my book, I needed to clear so much space so that I could just focus on that one project, because my brain is not as focused as it used to be, which I'm like, okay, that's a perimenopause trait that I didn't know was a thing, but now is a thing. And I'm like, well, I'm just riding the ride. So to give myself that time and focus, I had to let go of, I don't care what we eat for dinner as long as I'm not cooking it. I don't care if the kids eat out all the time. There's ingredients to make food in the house, right? If the dishes sit in the sink for days on end because I don't have the energy to do it, that's okay. Like, there were so many things that once I started to get into the habit of letting go, and that it rippled out from work, business, kids, like work and business are the same, personal, like it was a whole transition. And in having to communicate to my VA, it gave me words and vocabulary to explain and clarify to my husband, my kids, friends, right? Because to declutter, to do a big thing, it's not just chores, it's not just work tasks, it's saying no to events with people that don't necessarily fill your bucket, or it's not going to every networking event because you're spending that time doing something else. It was a whole ripple of change. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that my social circle grew smaller, but we went deeper. Like it was quality over quantity, because everyone that I surrounded myself with was cheering me on, helping me in some way that I was like, I can ask for that, and you're going to give it to me, and it's super helpful. Yes, please, more. And a lot of that started in the handoff. Like it took learning, it took practice, it took all of that. But now it's so easy. I mean, it's not, but it feels easier.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I don't know if you notice this in your business, I think in general, it's not always true, but in general, I find it's hard for women to ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's hard for people in general to ask for help, but I think what's harder still is the receiving help. Because if you can put yourself out there, you do have to have that mental shift of, if someone takes me up on my ask, can I receive it? Can I hand it off and let them do it? And be okay with it not being perfect or how I would do it or any of that. And I think because we, as women, mothers specifically, like I know for me, it was super hard because from the time I had my first kid, I was in charge with another whole life and then a second life. And my husband is my third kid. So I had right. And then my dad, my mom, my like family just kind of started to settle on my shoulders. And it was so hard to go. Like I can remember my very first shift was when my son got his driver's license and was like, I'm going to my friend's house. I'll see you later. And I was like, does his mom know you're coming? Because I had been the social director, the organizer, the driver, who's picking you up? Who are you? Like all of the logistics of everyone's life. And I didn't have to be. And he didn't want me to be. And I was like, who am I if I don't? That identity shift, I think we all go through that at some point. I mean, I think, we talk a lot about male midlife crises, but women, we go through our own kind of midlife crises, I think, when our kids grow up and they don't need us anymore. They want to hang out with their friends more than they want us around. Like there were so many things that it's why I shifted so much into my business, because it was the one thing that I did have control over that was tied directly and personally to me. Like it was the only thing that was mine. So and having to learn to hand off even a small piece of it to my VA was like, who am I if I'm not doing the tasks? Right? Yeah. Who am I? And that identity shift, I think, was harder than the actual delegation, because it was like, I can do it. I should not be doing it. I should be letting the shouldings, right?
Oh yeah. Shoulding is awful.
But it it really did come, like it was coming. And I was like, you don't really notice until you're like in it. And you're like, okay, gotta do it. Can't do it all.
Yeah. So what if somebody is thinking about bringing in help? What are some initial questions they should ask themselves? What are some initial tasks that are really great and push people to say, I can do this, I'm going to do this? And then what would you recommend that they do first?
Okay. I would recommend that you either listen to my podcast, Hey, Do I Need a VA? Or get my book, because it's a how-to guide to find, hire, and work with a VA. So chapter 1 is mindset. And the whole book takes you from the mindset shifts. How do I know I'm ready? Can I let it go? Can I receive the help? Can I, right? It's all the mental things that you got to work on, all the way through onboarding. What does it look like when you bring on someone? And within that, I'm very specific in the order of the activities, because most people, most business owners look at their task list. What do I want to hand off? And that is the sole thing they look at. But what I tell clients all the time is there's two kinds of VAs. There are doers and collaborators. And doers do great work, but it puts all the vision and all the leadership on the client to manage. And collaborators can lead that relationship a little bit more, and it takes some of the pressure off the clients to take their vision and break it down into tasks. And a lot of clients have hired doers because they tend to be less expensive. You can get them overseas, right? Those types of VAs that everyone's like, outsource and hand it over. But if your leadership style and your managing style don't lend you there, you don't have processes in place, you can't communicate your vision, you don't know what you need, a doer is not going to step in and help you figure that out, because they're a tell me what to do and I'll do it type. And so I have found that most clients need to at least start with a collaborator, somebody who's going to help them take their vision and break it down to the small task. And so there is a mindset piece to what kind of support do I need? And when we talk about budget, right? You can work with any level VA at any budget. It may just not be as many hours as you think it's going to be. Mm-hmm. But if you're spending 3 hours on a task with someone who's less expensive, but someone can get it in 20 minutes because they have more experience, are you really saving money, or is it just shifted? And it's looking at hiring support as an investment in building the relationship and all of that. So I tell a lot of clients, do the pre-work. I didn't do any of it. And I learned a lot. It took a couple years. I learned a lot, but now I wrote the book, so you don't have to go through it the way I did. But there is value in taking some time to really ask, hey, do I need a VA? And what does that look like for me? How will that support me? And am I ready to make that investment in the time and the energy? Because it's not just financial, right? It can take a couple of months for a VA to really be on board with you and your voice and your brand and knowing you, the business owner. And so what other gaps do you have that you're looking for help with? Almost all of my clients are ADHD. Mm-hmm. They squirrel and they're amazing visionaries, but to get it down to a task that I can do for them, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know how to make a MailChimp work or connect, Stripe. Like, those are the things, but they don't even know that those are the things that they need because they're here. And so to kind of circle around and answer your point, I would say, if you're thinking about it, do some of the pre-work. If you're more of a, I need to talk it out, because I am a verbal processor and I need to talk it out and have somebody capture all the information and then present it to me. I coach this so I can take you through the whole process so that we can discuss what you're looking for. If you're highly squirrely and you need somebody to organize you and keep you on track, that's a gap that you want to look for. So what questions do you ask, and what kind of qualities in the person do you need beyond can they do the actual tasks? And those are things that not many business owners go into it thinking about or asking themselves. It's, I need help. Who's going to do the work? They don't think about all the other factors, especially women, right? Because we get in our head like, okay, I need help.
Yeah.
And you're in overwhelm. And so you just find the first person who can do all the tasks on your task list, but you don't think about any of the other stuff. I know I didn't. I jumped right in. I didn't even look. My it was a high school senior who could do graphic design. I didn't even interview them. I just said, okay, you're hired. I do not recommend that, by the way. They are amazing, and I'm so grateful for them, and I'm glad they're still in my world and helping me build my business. But that took a lot of mentorship on my side for them to get to that point.
Yes. Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
It did. It really
I
did.
I have 2 university students.
Mm-hmm.
They're second-year university students, and we've tried to hand off some work to them, very unsuccessfully.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Including that intro that you saw. We did all kinds of, like video outtakes and stuff. And we said, hey, you're really good with graphics and video editing and all that stuff. Why don't you run with this? And then the questions we got, it was like, oh my gosh, let me take this back because it's way too much work.
And we also found out how uncool we were, Rachel.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Which is another problem.
No. I mean, to a college student, yeah, all of us are uncool. I don't know anyone who wants to hang out with.
Well, and especially when it's your mom and her friend, like.
Fair. My one of my VAs came by way of one of my tribe, and
yes,
would you hire my kid? Yes, let's do it. And so, yes, how the worlds rotate and overlap can be a little cringy, as the kids say.
Oh yeah,
as the kids say.
They don't say cringy,
as the kids say.
I know we're at that age, right?
They say so cringe.
Yes, that's exactly
okay,
what
I'm not even doing
oh, that's
it right.
so cringe. And I think too that I think about just the kinds of things that I offload here at home, right?
Mm.
And I think there are some, even when I'm talking about the same individual, right? Okay, I'll say it, my husband. There are things that I can say, you know what, he's perfectly okay to run with this.
Yeah.
Because, it's in his wheelhouse, or because he has better ideas than I do, or whatever. There are other things that I would rather like poke my eyeballs out with a Ziploc bag than allocate, because the amount of angst it will cause me is more than I really want to manage. So if it means putting things away or organizing, he's never going to remember.
No.
And my angst goes way up on the Richter scale, and I do mean Richter scale.
Yeah.
And it's just not worth asking for that kind of support.
Well, I just saw this it was a meme on Instagram, and it was a family therapist was talking about the division of chores in a home. And I think this can relate to, I think we can all relate to this. It's not just the physical labor of something, it's the mental load,
Yes.
and it's also the stress level that something, right? My daughter gets high anxiety to make a phone call to a doctor, right? Whatever. So she'll ask me, can I just sit in here while you make the call? And sometimes it's just dialing the number and getting it started, but she can take it from there. It's that getting started piece. And I've seen how it shows up in, I mean, my husband and I joke because I read the meme to him, and I'm like, yeah, we had that talk when we first moved in together, right? Because my idea of clean and his idea of clean are completely different, right? I like all the surfaces cleared. He needs to be able to eat off the floor, like that level of clean. I'm like, that is never going to be me. It's never going to be me. Like, I'll do a Clorox wipe on the counter, but to bleach the whole kitchen, that's way beyond my level. But for him, it is the thing. So I'm like, then you get to do it because it means more to you. Yeah. And I think that some business owners get into that mindset of, I have to hand everything off, or I have to do it all. And there is a happy medium because, I mean, I'm sure you all noticed that you could write down a 1-line task item, but then find yourself doing like 15 things for it. So one of the things we talk about in the chapter on creating your handoff list is breaking those tasks into their actual single action steps. Right? I put it in the book, but it was a whole blog post on starting a newsletter. There are 19 steps to that, right? And that's not like the recurring one, but there's at least like 5 or 6 that you got to do every time you say send newsletter, right? But within those things, there are things that I want to do that I don't want to hand off. I like writing content. I like doing my cat pictures, right? But the other stuff, I'm happy to hand that off, right? Social media is the same, right? I can hand off the graphic creation. I can say, here's some ideas. Can you get the caption started for me? And I'll tweak it, right? So I think there is that level of, this is mine and I don't want to hand it off. But all this other stuff that isn't mine to do, I can let that go and I will feel better. I will not have that weight of anxiety if I let somebody else do these things. And as you let people do those things and the anxiety, right, our nervous system calms down because we're not the ones doing it all, it's so much easier to go, oh, thank God for you. Like, I don't have to think of, like, I just have to approve it, make a couple tweaks, right? Whatever the flow is for that task. But when I handed off 6 months of social media to my VA so I could write the book, can I just tell you how freeing that was, that I didn't have to look at it for, like, I mean, each month he would outline it and I'd have to approve graphics and whatever, but I didn't have to plan it. I didn't have to write it. Right? Like, it was all done. And the freedom. I'm like, do I gotta go back to social media? Can you just figure stuff out? I learned what carousels were. I didn't know what that was. I'm like, he's like, I can make this. I'm like, go for it. Do it. He had all these ideas and I was like, yes, you go.
I love that. So sometimes the letting go is where the creativity can happen as well, is what I'm hearing you talk about. Like, letting someone else brings a new idea in, bring a new concept in, refresh our way of thinking and bring us something even better. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about partnership and collaboration versus delegation. Maybe they're the same thing. Maybe they're not. You tell us.
So I heard a whole article on words have meaning, and delegation to me feels cold and corporate, even though it's what I do. I call it handing off. It feels more in alignment. But I think that, right, there are some business owners who look at hiring support as transactional. I look at it as relational. I am a highly relationship building personality. I have built my whole business on referrals and connections. I mean, I think I met you, Annette, at a networking call, and like that 6 degrees of separation, right? It's not what you know, it's who you know. Like that plays a huge part in how I do my business, how I show up in all my relationships. And so I don't look at things transactionally, right? Like the people that I work with, I want to know what's going on in their life. I want to have a few minutes, checking in. What's going on in your life? One of my VAs is in the Philippines and they get all kinds of rain and they had earthquakes. And I'm like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Right? Is your family okay? Right? What's going on with that? So it's relational. And I feel like if you build a relationship with your VA, doesn't matter which type, if you have that, then they're just as invested in your business as you are.
Yeah.
Right? When I told my VA that I was writing the book, he was so excited. If he had had a pom-pom, he would have been raising it. He was like, I'll do the book cover. I'll do whatever you need graphics for the book. And he was so excited for me to do it. And if you're just handing stuff off and you don't even know who you're handing it off to because you have a whole team of people that are just saying, I'll do that, I'll do that, I'll do that, then you don't get to say, hey, remember when I said I don't like that look? Oh, yeah, let me fix that. It builds their investment in your business just as much as you're investing in their business.
I think having had an experience with, a few experiences with virtual assistants, they also service lots of other clients and bring to the table things that they've seen work and not work.
Yes.
And I think that when we delegate, we lose the opportunity to leverage what they bring to the table in terms of prior learning.
Yeah. We did a whole episode on ask, always ask, because, we build a website and we put all the things that we do at that time. And not many of us go back to update it. And VAs are learning new stuff every day. Clients bring all kinds of new stuff that is like, okay, we're going here. I'll figure it out. I'll learn it. But we don't share it. We don't, hey, I learned this cool new thing. So I encourage clients to, right, if the website doesn't have what you're looking for, then ask, do you do this? Are you interested in doing this? Do you want to learn it? Because you can learn with me as we do it. And a lot of times a VA will say, I've always wanted to do that, but I've been waiting for a client to ask me to do it. Or they'll say, no, it's not really my jam and I don't want to, but I know somebody who can do it. Let's bring on somebody to do that piece for us. And I have a referral directory so that if I'm not the right fit for a client, I can refer them to other VAs that I've met and know what they do. And so many of them, I'm like, hey, does anyone know how to do this? And I'll get like hands raised all over the place because I didn't know to ask that in my original questionnaire, so it doesn't show up, but everyone's learning new stuff. Go high levels, brand new to me. People have been doing it for a while, and I didn't even know it was a thing when I created my questionnaire. So now it's like, who does this? And people are learning stuff all the time. And my mentor once said, she's like, we could learn something new every day and still not know everything.
Yes.
So, you know, and a lot of times I tell new BVAs, I'm like, start where you are. Clients will help dictate what you learn and where you go. Like, you don't need to know every program. If you know one email marketing program, you can pretty much work in any of them. You know what I mean? Like, the words are different and how they talk about things are different, but the actual like formatting and doing stuff is relatively the same regardless. Same as the social media schedulers and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's from the client side, it's having kind of that open mind. Like, I know I want email marketing, right? Do you know, everyone's saying MailChimp. Do you have a recommendation? Why would I use that one or not? Kind of, and asking for suggestions. And, you know, some VAs are really good in different platforms, and they'll tell you why they like that one over something else. And that could help direct a client who doesn't have something in place, but is wanting to go in that direction as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that goes to a partnership, relationship building. When you're outsourcing it or you're just delegating it, you are the one saying, this is how I want it. This is what I want in this program in this way. And it puts all the ownership on the client. Yeah. So if you're not sure, then you want more of a partnership, more of a relationship approach, because they're going to ask questions.
You know, a lot of what you're talking about is not just, I'm a solopreneur, I need help. Annette and I see this a lot. I'm going to put words in her mouth. Annette and I see this a lot just in our working relationship, right? Because she brings skills to the table and can do things that I don't know how to do. And I bring skills to the table that she knows how to do, maybe is happier if I do them. Sometimes it's like, well, I know you do these things, Sandra. I have no idea what you just did. Can you document what you just did, right? And or it's just faster or easier for one of us to take care of it, right? And one of the things that I really appreciate about Annette is she said right from the very beginning, let's write some standard operating procedures so that these things are in place when we're ready to hire. I think that's so exciting that we'll be ready to hire. But it's so true, because if I was working just on this by myself, I know I wouldn't have created the SOP, because I do my own business and I don't have a single SOP for my business except for the things that I outsourced and needed to write an SOP for.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think people get scared by that word, or that couple of words, standard operating
SOP.
I had one client freak herself out because she was like, I got to document everything for Rachael to get started with me. And I said, no, you can record a video of you doing it as you do it and explain to me each step along the way why it's important, and I'll create it. The look of relief on her face, it made it so much easier for her. So even just having a video of you doing it, even if it's just screenshots of each step, right? That's a beginning step, because when you are ready to hire, even having those things, right? The VA might say, well, this is faster and easier, or they can take it and go, okay, well, if we make a template of this, and if we do this, they can pull out the things that are yours to do and what are theirs to do, and how to bring your words, your personality, your brand into those things. I had one client in 20 years. He's an anomaly. I tell him this all the time. He came to me with his systems documented. And he's like, what can you do for me? And a VA can do this. And I literally went through and I pulled out probably 80%. 80%. I was like, okay, that needs a template. I wrote something that, right? Like I went through and I templated everything. So all he had to do was say, no, I'd word it differently, or yes, that's approved. And then I had my emails, my follow-ups, all the things to do it. Now I created my own like checklist. I created the things that worked better for my brain, because he can type his responses and I'm a verbal processor. So we're different in that way. But it was so easeful because I could just step in and go, okay, I see what needs to be done here. Let's do it. And he didn't have to think about it. He didn't have to ask. Like all he had to do was document it. So I do recommend to business owners who are at that, I'm creating my SOPs, there's an added step. Tell the person why that step is important to you, what you're thinking about in that step, because then it gives them that kind of that connector, that grounding to go, oh, okay. And you can ask like, okay, because we're working together, do we need to add any steps here? Like, I need to review this before you post it. I need to approve this. Make sure that you get those steps added in, because when you're doing it yourself, you're not going, hey, Sandra, I need to approve this. You're just doing it, right? So it looks and feels different when we're doing it ourselves than when we're handing it off. But if that gets put in, then it's a lot easier to hand off.
I'm also thinking, as you're talking, that it's easy to think of this strictly from the virtual assistant perspective, and from the I'm an independent business owner. But these same issues that we're talking about, they apply everywhere. So if I have an assistant and I'm physically in a corporate job, right? These are all the things that keep coming up. Like, how do you get somebody to understand, level of the quality of how you want that task to look? How do you get somebody to understand what the workflow is? How do you get somebody to understand these are the people who are need to be put through right away? These are the people that, we can schedule for a later date. Like, you have to really think through your own workflow. And that's what makes it challenging, is because it's not just happening all in your head, where it's happening not only in a closed box, but instantaneously, right? You need to walk through it and talk through it. Often in the middle of a very busy day, when there's lots to get done and you're already busy and trying to take on mentoring and bringing and onboarding somebody else and standardizing your processes. Who's got time for all that?
That's why people pay us the big bucks, but
don't say that, because then my husband will ask for the big bucks. Or my children.
Yeah. Well, but I think too, if you take the time, even when you're busy, even when you're overwhelmed, right? It may not be the time to be handing it off, but it may be worthwhile to go, let me just click Loom or Scribe or even Zoom, right? And just share my screen so you can see what I'm doing.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to do it, and here's what I'm doing, and here's why I'm doing it.
Yes.
I
also hear you saying that there really can't be anything that's so sacred, that's so standardized that it can't be improved or talked about or renegotiated on. So you also have to be open to that. Would you agree?
Yes. And I think that I did a post on the leadership and handing off styles, because if you're like, do it my way, this way specifically, then you have to go through and each step of the way be really, really clear on what happens at each step of the way. If you're like, here's an idea, take it and run with it, but I want to see the end product before it goes out, that's a totally different leadership style than a do it my way leadership style. And so, and it shows up differently to VAs, because if you are super clear on your way, I had a high school teacher, it was the gray way or the highway, and he was really clear on where the equal signs were in the chemistry equations. Like, it had to be in a line. That is not my style. I'm like, you want to take it and run with it? Yes, go for it. Right? Totally different styles. So, but if you are that way, then being able to go, I do it this way because, right? And giving that example of why it's important to you will be like, I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to understand it. But Sandra said it was important, right? Because that's how she tells Annette what to do, right? Like, I don't need to know why. I just know that it is.
I don't often tell Annette what to do.
Don't believe her. Don't believe
just
her,
for the
Rachael.
record.
Don't believe her. Well, Rachael, I think that this conversation has been so valuable, not only from a perspective of talking about virtual assistant help in your business, but talking about letting go when it doesn't serve you and finding a different approach, surrounding yourself with a community of people that can help you and not just agree with you.
Yeah.
And so thank you for all of that, because completely unexpected and so pleasantly a surprise. So tell people how they can get connected with you.
Okay. My website is www.extrahandsva.com. And that is extra spelled out, hands with an S, va.com. And I'm on all the social media platforms. And I will send you guys my Linktree link that has all the links. But you can find my books on the paperback is on all the major retailers. The ebook is on Amazon. And our podcast, Hey, Do I Need a VA, is on all the major podcast streaming services.
That's so amazing. Well, again, we're so happy to connect with you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
That's a wrap on this episode of Exposing the Hidden Reality. If something hit home or made you snort laugh, tell us.
Seriously, we love hearing from you. Message us, tag us, or send us coffee. We love coffee.
And hey, leave a review. It helps more women find us and boosts our egos.
Which are like fragile, like suspiciously fragile.
True. All right, until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and if all else fails,
Blame the dog.
See you next time. Wait, did we stop recording?
No, we're still here. You have to push the red button.
Red button. Cool. Just eternal podcasting.
Bye.
Bye.
That's awesome.
Hey,